Good afternoon and welcome to our first meeting of July. And I appreciate those of you who are in our audience today, and also those of you who are watching us on our Electric City Television. Invocation tonight will be led by Council Member Beatrice Thompson, and respect to the flags will be led by Council Member Rick Laughridge. Please rise.
May we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the privilege of assembling in these council chambers once more. Thank you for your holy presence in the midst of all of us. As we experience the best of times and yet the worst of times in our nation, we implore your strength that we might be instrumental in sowing peace, love, compassion, caring, and hope in a troubled world. Help us to be consoled by the power of your love, your healing, and your protection. We pause now to ask your blessings upon those whose lives and families have been devastated by tragedies that have affected them. We join them as they experience the pain and grief that they are undergoing. Continue to bless them with your healing power as they strive to rebuild their lives. We ask a special blessing upon our city, our employees, and our citizens as they strive to make our communities a place where we all can live, love, work, and play together. May our decision tonight be a blessing to all of those whose lives we touch. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business today is the election of Mayor Pro Tem, and I'd ask Ms. McConnell to give us a recap of that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The term for the Mayor Pro Tem is 1 year, and it begins as in this month, July. The way your code specifies the election of the Mayor Pro Tem, it shall go to the person who has the longest length of service at this time, given the rotation of the existing council members. The person elected shall have a minimum of 2 years service on the council. In this case, the person who is up for Mayor Pro Tem would be Mr. Matt Harbin. He's next in the rotation, having served since 2010. Therefore, we would put that out for your consideration this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Matt, you're up.
Great. Make a motion we accept.
I have a first by Mr. Don Chapman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Laughridge. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I look forward to it, Mayor. Thank you.
I look forward to it. I look to work you harder than I worked Mr. Chapman last year.
Yeah, it was difficult.
Our next item is approval of minutes of June 27th. They've been distributed. Any corrections or additions to the minutes?
I move they be adopted.
Thank you. We have first by Mr. Laughridge, second by Dr. Thompson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of June 27th pass unanimously. We don't have any old business. We have 4 items of new business, and the first item is request consideration of referral to the Planning Commission, a petition to rezone 1303 North Murray Avenue from RM10 multifamily residential to NC neighborhood commercial. Ms. McConnell.
This is a piece of property you may be familiar with, since it is very close to our city recreation center. It has been, it's an existing building that is looking for a new tenant, and it has been operating for a number of years as a non-conforming use. There's nothing wrong with that. Over the last several years, surrounding properties, as they have changed uses, we've changed the zoning in order to bring those properties into compliance too. This also applied to the recreation center several years ago. This also means with the proper zoning, it allows it to meet whatever other, if any, occupancy standards from a code standpoint that might be necessary, but it makes the zoning be in compliance. This will go before your Planning Commission on July the 12th. That is a unusual date for the Planning Commission meeting, but that meeting date was changed in deference to the July the 4th holiday.
Thank you. Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
First by Mr. Harbin, second by Dr. Thompson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously to the Planning Commission. Our next item is request consideration of an ordinance to adopt the 2015 International Code Congress, the ICC requirements for building construction. Ms. McConnell?
We do have with us our Chief Building Inspector, Alan Eklund, tonight, who's certainly more well-versed on this than I, but I'll do my best to give you an overview. As you know, there are a number of codes that are passed or rules that are passed by the state that are also adopted by the local jurisdiction. The International Codes Congress or the South Carolina Building Codes Council requires our adoption of these particular sets of building codes. If you'll notice in the ordinance itself, it mentions the various codes that make up this whole set of regulations. So it's the International Building Code, the International Residential Code, Plumbing Code, Mechanical Code, the Gas Code, Energy Conservation Code, Fire Code, National Electrical Code, International Property Maintenance Code, and the International Existing Building Code. And those have various series and chapters that are included in that process. So we've been operating under the ICC code since the 2000 series. This is something that you see periodically. The last update to the series and your action was taken in 2012. I think it's important to note certainly that when people have construction activity in the city, they get a building permit, they follow the various codes that are applicable. It does make it certainly more advantageous and convenient for our citizens when we have the same codes adopted as other entities, and particularly our neighbor Anderson County. So from a consistency standpoint at the local level, that is also a good thing. And remember too that the codes that we adopt are minimum standards when it comes to these kinds of regulations. So they have had input from a variety of people who are professionals in the field: engineers, designers, developers, contractors, and building officials. With that, I'll turn it back over to y'all for questions, and we can call upon Alan for his expert advice.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Ms. Chapman?
Most of these changes to the codes for the 2015 codes a lot of them are deletions that they saw from the 2012, and as well as a few additions. But for the most part, it's a common thing that we have to do every 3 years or so. So with that, I would move that we accept it as presented.
First by Mr. Chapman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Laughridge. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 2015 International Codes passed unanimously. Thank you.
First reading.
First reading, I'm sorry. We'll move on to our third item, request consideration of a lease with Anderson County regarding the dog park. Ms. McConnell?
Again, this is a subject that you've heard before. As you know, the group that we refer to as TBA, to benefit Anderson, to be announced, is an entity that has, the city's been a beneficiary of the projects that they've done to date. That's included an awful lot of public art in the community and fountains. The latest project is the dog park. in the city of Anderson, and this, as you know, has a new location. The lease that is before you tonight is, the first one is with Anderson County, and the property is essentially bordered by Fant Street, Society Street, Manning Street, and East Orr Street. The property is vacant. All of the properties that are under the two leases this evening are vacant parcels that will be used for the development of the dog park. Because of contributions from citizens, the TBA group has been able to amass $100,000 in order to construct and develop the dog park. This part of this lease agreement includes the fact that we will be leasing land from Anderson County. We will also include, in the next item on the agenda, land that is in the ownership of AnMed Health, and all of that will comprise the dog park. In both cases, the lease agreement is a term of 50 years. It does provide the opportunity to terminate the lease by either party if, for whatever reason, either party wants to terminate the lease. It requires a 1-year written notice. In addition to that, the city would anticipate, just like we have with the other community projects, we anticipate being responsible for the maintenance and the upkeep of this dog park, just as we would any park. We would anticipate that the improvements, such as fencing, lighting, benches, trash cans, those types of improvements certainly would be something that we would have liability insurance on. And we think that this is certainly, given the amount of interest, and it's a new amenity for our downtown, we think this is certainly a project that our citizens would greatly appreciate. In terms of timing, I think the time frame is to really have this dog park completed, to begin work on it as soon as possible, but to have it completed this calendar year is, I believe, what the goal actually is. And I believe we have Arlene and Bobby in the audience this evening. If you have specific questions about the dog park, they may be able to help answer that, I'm certain. In your package, you have a drawing of the conceptual plan as well as the GIS map, which indicates where the properties specifically are located. The only thing that I would say is perhaps different in the conceptual drawing is that we expect, in working with the DOT, that the entrance for the dog park would be on East Orr as opposed to North Fant Street.
Good, thank you. I know that this is I think the fourth project.
I
think you
so.
have Generator Park, Caton Alley, third?
The number of projects, TBA.
This is the fourth one, yeah. So it's a good example of a public-private partnership, and on our end, if the private sector goes this far, and if we can just obtain and maintain it, it's a win-win for both sides. Any comments, any questions?
I'd just like to ask if there are rules and regulations for the persons who bring their dogs to the park.
There
So cleaning and all that kind of thing.
There will be, in fact, part of the amenities to the park will be at waste stations. Thank you.
And they have a big area for the big dogs and
Area for the small dogs.
for the small dogs, and a lot of other, I think, water stations, and to be able to just let the animals run for a while. If you see a lot of people downtown with dogs now, walking dogs, and 2 and 3 dogs in small apartments, but
I have a
it's a good
question,
thing.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Are we going to have anybody supervising that area, or are we going to have cameras or anything like that?
Well, we certainly won't have anybody who is stationed there to I mean, it would be a public park just as your other public parks.
Right.
I would, certainly our mode of operation has been to consider the addition of cameras in any of our parks as part of our way of doing business. So that may be part of the infrastructure that we include.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think we should put some cameras if there's a possibility for funding to do that, because Mr. Bevel likes to watch the cameras.
I think so too. Let's just say you had a big dog that was fighting a little dog. That might be a
Then
problem.
Mr. Bevel could go take care of it, couldn't he?
There you go. Anything else, guys?
I'll go move that we go ahead and adopt the lease agreement with the Anderson County to lease a property for construction of dog park.
Second.
First by Ms. Lockhart, second by Dr. Thompson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Our next item is very similar. It's a consideration of a lease with AnMed Health regarding the same piece of space. So entertain a motion to approve. First by Mr. Roberts.
Second.
Second by the Mayor Pro Tem. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's great. It's great to have three entities, I guess four. The county, AnMed Health, the city, and TBA to come together to do something that's very positive for the community.
And we should probably thank the Foothills Community Foundation for
For
being the entity that helps.
Facilitate the collection of the contributions. Yes, Robert Rainey and his foundation, his board, they do a good job in that for a lot of different organizations throughout the community. Administrative briefing, Ms. McConnell.
We'll be brief in administrative briefing, but I think you may know by now that the city of Anderson had we were looking for some clarification as to the geographic territory of our water service with regard to the Michelin plant, and that was recently decided by the South Carolina Court of Appeals in our favor, that the territory that we're serving and have been serving since 2002 was confirmed by the South Carolina Court of Appeals, that we may continue to serve that particular territory regardless of whether it's the existing building or some new building. And we feel that now that this matter has been resolved, then certainly we can go on about our business with our partners at the Joint Water System too, and let our focus be on providing the best quality of water service to our citizens, and put this matter behind us and have that matter clarified for all of our citizens and our participants in the water system. So
Thank
we're
you.
very grateful for that.
Very good.
In the quarterly report, we always provide that to you to give you an indication of the projects that we've been working on for the past quarter. I think certainly take it, look at it at your leisure. If you have any questions about it, give us a call. I will point out one thing that we are very proud of. It's on the next to the last page under the finance section. And as you know, back in May, when we did the water and sewer bond refunding and saved over $5 million for that $40 million bond, life of those bonds, that resulted in our getting the credit rating agencies to review us and uphold our current rating as it related to our utility bonds. That, whether it was coincidental or whether they just like looking at our little neck of the woods here, we were proud that Moody's did choose to look at us again, and this time as it relates to our general obligation debt, and we were upgraded from an A1 rating to a AA3 rating. And of course that rating is a testament to our credit worthiness, and they pointed out a lot of good things that you all certainly can take credit for, along with your staff, that of being financially stable, of being a low credit risk, but having good credit worthiness, and I think that speaks to your, a great deal to your financial responsibilities and the practices and policies that you have in place, as well as the projects that you've taken on have been seen as very credit worthy. And our little neck of the woods here has been seen as a good place to do business, and for those reasons, we were upgraded. So we're very proud of that. And I certainly thank Peggy and the finance staff for what they've done, and David McEwen in securing answers to the questions for Moody's and helping get that upgrade. And we thank you all for all that you do in helping set that policy standards that make us look good.
It's been a busy 6 months.
Absolutely.
I'd like to point out that we're proud of the $75,000 grant we got from, for the Arts Our Town grant for the Church Street Heritage Project. I mean, that's
The National Endowment for the Arts grant, and we were the only city in South Carolina that got that. So yes, indeed, we're very proud of that as well. Upcoming events, you'll notice on your calendar that filing for the vacant seat 1 begins this Friday at noon and closes on Monday the 25th at noon. So that process for the special election in September begins with that filing process. A couple of other events on Friday night, this coming Friday night, mark your calendars for 8:50 p.m. in Carolina Wren Park. And if you'd like to see the movie Minions, that's the place to be. And then on Tuesday the 26th, Sounds in the Park will be in Carolina Wren Park from 7 to 9 with the Carolina Coast Band. So it may be hot out there, but there's still plenty of activities to take advantage of in Anderson and certainly in downtown, as well as the block parties on Thursday nights. And Mayor, that's all we have this evening.
well, what we did.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
In that association, that meeting on the 13th.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would recommend we've been able to go to the movie night, and I would highly recommend anybody that hasn't done it to do it. The kids have a great time. Mr. Bevel and the rest of the staff do a fantastic job with it, and I think it's very well attended and a very nice thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is. Thank you. Appreciate it. No other business. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by Dr. Thompson, second by Mr. Laughridge. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.